Welcome to the Playbook. My name is StoneMountain64, and I'm super excited to be going through all this content with you. I'm a co-founder of Pipeline. I wrote out all of the modules and pillars for you to use this to help level up your career and your passion for streaming and gaming. Use this content to your benefit. Take your time as you go through it. Take notes and really engage with it. Answer the questions that are there because we designed this for you to really help you make that progress and help speed up your entire process with it. With that, we also want to create and use this video and audio portion to help you as you go through it, to bring this more to life and to help you understand it and really absorb the information. In addition, if you have more questions, join in on those mentorship sessions. We have a lot of them already up that you can go back through as well that really help bring all of this to life. In addition to that, we have the community. Get involved, ask questions, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. And with that, let's get started in the foundations. If you're brand new to streaming, this entire pillar will help you getting started on the right foot. The more you can identify your direction and where you're going, the more helpful it can be in finding ways to differentiate and stand out. Focus on that purpose and why, and find out what it is that you're excited about and what it is that you're doing. Don't think just because you've found something, though, that you don't need to revisit it and you're off the hook. If you're already a few months in, even years into this is a great place to refocus and make sure you are on a solid foundation and that you're going in the right direction that you really want to be going. It is so easy to get into the trenches of making content and not really pick your head up and evaluate where it is that you're at, to look at your surroundings, even to look back at how you got to where you're at now, especially if you started out with all of this as a hobby. No intention really of making anything even more of it in the first place, but now maybe you have traction and maybe you are trying to figure out the business side of all of this and how to continue to scale it up and continue to do more. Personally, for me, it's something that at least once a year, I'll take a step back and reevaluate where I'm at, especially if there's new game releases or something big happening and changes might occur. I need to focus and make sure that my content direction is going where I want it to be and where it's ultimately I'm trying to go, and it's incredibly helpful to do. Everyone starts somewhere though, right? And that's what we find in the foundations is your starting place. What you're going to learn is your purpose for streaming, your etiquette with other streamers as well as viewers, your brand and how to optimize your equipment that you might already have, as well as your niche and how you connect with your communities. The first module we're going through of the foundations is purpose, figuring out why it is that you're streaming and getting into what you are doing. If you're starting out, you might already be incredibly eager. I just want to go live, Stone. I just want to start doing everything. But again, let's take that step back and clarify the purpose a bit. Live streaming games is awesome. I don't think I need to tell you that. Who doesn't want to play some games all day, right? You probably have a passion for gaming or even entertainment or something in this space in general. That's what's led you here in the first place. Specifically with gaming, because there are so many huge communities already out there for it. I know there's a huge culture around it as well. That's where a lot of people start. There's a lot more to it though than just passion alone, than just being the best gamer and even getting that to stand out in front of it. I mean, have you really spent a lot of time watching streams? For some of you, you might not have yet. And on the surface, it looks so easy, right? Well, when it comes to finding your purpose, you're asking yourself, why are you streaming? Why are you creating content? What are you putting out there? If you don't have that answer yet, that's completely okay. It takes time to really sit and think and figure that out for yourself because it is going to be different for everybody, especially past the reason of, I want to play some games. It can take time to isolate and make that story, make that message. And that story is going to continue to develop with you over time, and it's going to continue to change as you continue to change and grow as a person. Coming back to that purpose, though, periodically, reassess what it is that you're working on and the direction that you're going. It can really help you continue to push yourself, especially when you're feeling stuck. And that's really whether you're crushing it or not. Even if something's going well, a lot of times there's things you need to reevaluate, and maybe it's something you just don't even want to continue doing. And there's a different direction you want to go with it. This has happened to me many, many times over my career. Most recently with letting go of my podcast and reformatting that into more structured short form videos that I also put onto the podcast versus me doing these more longer form solo monologues. In addition, even with my most popular series that I ever created, my YOLOs, not making that being the sole defining point of all of my content. I've done a lot of work personally and with my content and the people I work with to continue to push myself and my brand into so much more. That wouldn't happen without me actually going out and doing it. When you're finding your purpose here, clarify your reasons for the path that you're choosing and where it is that you want to go. As you go down this marathon and through this journey, you want to make sure that's what you're really building towards. And while that direction might change, if you're not coming back to that central purpose, you can really lose motivation and your way on your path. So sit with this question. Why is it that you want to be a streamer? Is it for fun? Is this something that you really want to be your job, or are you just wanting to play some games? Like I said, there's definitely a mix in there. Streaming is a really unique, fun form of engagement and entertainment, obviously. There's other great sources too that could even fit better for you, especially if you don't have the full tools or resources to fully commit to it yet. But as you probably are, you want to be able to set goals around that. Maybe you're still struggling with that question. Maybe you already know exactly what it is that you want to do, but I want to continue to elaborate on this in terms of what does it really mean to pursue this. I would say the vast majority of people start to stream as a hobby, and it is an awesome hobby indeed. There's so many topics and controversies and things that you can get into within gaming alone. It is mind-blowing. If you look at even specific games, there's so many subcategories within that. For Call of Duty example, you got multiplayer, battle royale, zombies, campaign. You could look at the lore. You could look at subcategories within multiplayer of hardcore or core, snipers versus close range, battle royale, aggressive versus passive, crazy strategies versus aggressive strategies. I could spend 40 minutes just talking about that, and that's for one game that comes out every year. You've got Fortnite, World of Warcraft, and I can't even list all the games that have so many different niches within that. And we're going to talk more about niche, but the possibilities are endless, and the interest in it is absolutely massive in so many of these different categories. For you to be stepping up the plate in any of these regions, or even something in a different category at a higher level, not necessarily within a specific game, you're taking on a lot of responsibility with that. Pursuing this as a career takes a lot of dedication. Regardless of where you're going, you are becoming a leader in that category, in your community. And you're going to have a responsibility for the content in that community that you're building. You are building content, entertainment, and you are, more importantly, consistently maintaining that audience. And what I want you to really do and realize is set your expectations appropriately, because very often I'll see people start up a stream, or maybe 1 or 2 weeks into all of this, have the expectations that you starting a stream in the first place will automatically bring everybody in and expect really to blow up. But you can't expect those same results as somebody who is a professional streamer, for example, if you are treating this like a hobby and not taking the steps that they are. While streaming definitely is very fun, it's still a job that you want to show up for. Whatever space you're going into, you got to be competitive in it to create that value, to build an audience, and more importantly, retain that audience. Across all major industries, the top performers really focus on intentionally improving themselves through practice, through research, and that's regardless of industry and even other careers that start as hobbies. Artists, graphics designers, guitarists, athletes. These top performers too are not just training for the sake of training, but they're training specifically what they need to improve. The same thing's true in competitive gaming. If you're going into a national championship in League of Legends, you're not going to be playing casuals with a bunch of randoms. You're going to be scrimming with your team, working on your communication, strategies, and where you might be lacking. Streaming really is no exception here. Streaming definitely is a very authentic experience with people as well. But just because you take time to invest in your content, your audience, does not mean that it's no longer a hobby and no longer something you can have fun with. The most solidifying point of this in any streamer's career is them leaving their job and relying on content creation as their main source of income. At that point, it is 100% a job and you can't get around it, because if you want to pay your bills, that's what you have to do. But does that mean that these creators that are doing it full time and putting everything in it no longer have a passion for it? Well, for me, over the last 4 years of being full-time myself, it's something I still have to constantly pull myself back from spending too much time on, because I enjoy it so much. And I know letting myself go and spending too much time on it will also burn me out, and I need to maintain some balance. No matter what I do, there's always infinitely more stuff that I can be doing that will all continue to make progress for me. I'm still very passionate and very interested in all of this, and I hope that's where you're at as well. You focusing on that passion and that purpose of what it is that you want to create, of what it is that you want to do. That's often what helps generate the most ideas that are really going to connect with people. And the more you can make that interesting and engaging, the better. You're here today, which tells me that your intentions are to pursue this as a career. So it's time to invest in yourself on a really much more conscious level, making diligent decisions that make you go in the right direction of where it is that you're trying to end up. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to start doing 12-hour streams every single day on day one, especially if the view count says 0. You can make progress creating value and content for an audience at any rate. Even if that's something once a week, a stream once a week, it does, though, mean that you need to be consistent about delivering the content so you can build that audience, which we'll talk more about in the community pillar. So understand, somebody that really is going full-time at this is a professional streamer, proactively working to improve their skills, content, and the value they can deliver to an audience is different from somebody who is treating it as a hobby. And you can't expect the same results as somebody who might be doing that. But you can take this approach. You can get in there and do this. There's so much value you have to offer. So frequently invest your time into your craft. It does take time to build that up, to build that skill set, to focus around your purpose and what you're trying to create so you can deliver that. And a helpful part in this is communicating your goals to friends, family, so they understand what you're doing. It's not blindsiding them and helps to keep you more accountable as you're going through it, even if they don't fully understand it. In this space, things happen at a variety of different rates, but success doesn't come overnight. You need to be able to put in the work and have an intentional plan of what you're going through, focusing on that. Why is it that you want to become a streamer? Even if that's just a side gig, something you want to try and do for charity, it's important to know the reasons for you doing this. If it is you wanting to go full time, to be your own boss and make those own decisions independently from what anybody else wants to do, what are those decisions that you're making? You have the freedom with this to make any decisions. So start making them. Unlike being employed or being in school and having school projects, there's nobody telling you the exact next move that you need to make or what grade you get on that test. Maybe the audience is part of the judge for that, but they can often still lead you in a wrong direction. And ultimately, it comes down to your choice on where you as a person and a business goes. Time management is always an incredibly important factor in every aspect of life. But how many hours can you commit to this exciting new thing that you're really working on? Or if you've already been doing this and you haven't really sat down and realized how much time you're putting into it, how can you start to quantify that? Even if it's not all at one time. Yes, streaming is part of being a streamer and creating content. But maybe you have a choppy couple of hours where you can't go live, but you can still spend some time researching content, editing tools, other creators' opinions that you could talk about on your stream, reviewing the playbook, joining mentorship sessions, researching other streamers. An important part of this too is being realistic and scoping out how much time you really can invest in this activity. If you set yourself unattainable goals, then it could be very demotivating very quickly. But you can already see into this how we're getting away from the aren't you just playing video games? There's a lot of misconceptions around creating content. And I think most people at some point have these reactions, whether that's yourself or other people that you talk to. If you are already into the space more, you'll hear people say, oh, you're just playing video games and people watch you? I can do that, which is what I had initially said when I saw other people creating this content. Or even, why does anybody watch you play and not play themselves? As more people continue to keep learning about streaming, about online content, even start watching it themselves, these questions, comments, and statements really just keep on coming. If you've been streaming and trying to create content for an audience, you probably realize there's a lot more going on here. Or if you've even been active watching a streamer, and especially if you consistently watch a streamer or even a couple, you probably realize, and you're probably watching for more than just watching somebody play a game. People come to streams for entertainment. And there's so many different ways that entertainment can go, from education to comedy, something dramatic, relatable, even if it's the community and the chat that's there. Think back to a class that you would go to that was so boring, but you loved going to it every day because all your friends were in it. Whatever it might be, people tune into a stream because they know something entertaining is happening or will be happening, or they're going to want to come back for in the future. Even on the side of streamers, though, there's misconceptions. Many creators think that, well, if I'm not a pro, then I don't really have anything to say. Even I'm new to streaming. How do I have anything to say? I guess I'll just live stream and sit and wait for everybody to come in and start watching. Grinding means that I go live and I sit here for 10 hours a day with nobody watching, and eventually everybody starts watching. Questions though, and even for yourself before you answer them for other people. Why should someone watch you over someone else? Maybe you don't have that answer yet. That's totally okay. Even if you're the best player in the world, you're the most charismatic person in the world, you've completed the hardest challenge of the most difficult task in the game, it doesn't mean people are ever going to find out that you're doing that or that's who you are. And even as you work to figure that out, what makes your stream unique, and you will find that, especially actively working towards it, it's going to continue to change over time for you what that even is. What might stand out really at the beginning might change once you've gone full time. And how do you continue to find that growth after that change happens? We're all going to continue to develop as people, and that's why even revisiting this and taking that step back from time to time to see where you now might even have new strengths really comes into play. Keep this at the top of your mind. How do you find really interesting, great ways to differentiate and be proud of it? As you grow and evolve over time, it's most likely going to be something you look back, and that's what helps shape you in the first place. Your purpose will help to differentiate you on this journey. Something I think many people have thought about, especially when thinking about even getting started, is, well, if Ninja's grinding out more than 10 hours of top tier Fortnite streams every day, dropping 20 kill games, showcasing all the major updates, the latest news, live on his stream, how can anybody else even compete with that? He's got the entire market. You can say this with so many different categories, platforms. There's no room for anybody else in the space, right? Well, the fact is, even during that time, thousands of other creators made their start even at that time, let alone so many others leveling up what they were already working on and taking it to this new game on the same platform that he's on, but even on other platforms. People making a name for themselves on Facebook, Mixer, and especially YouTube in not only the same category and a similar style of content, but also hugely differentiated types of content alongside of that. People creating drama content, comedy, challenges, people that are by esports standards, not as good at the game, but still getting millions of views and forming success to a variety of degrees. On top of that, in so many different regions, languages, and the same thing's true in so many different categories and everything still today. There will be competition. In fact, there's going to be a lot of competition, especially when there's a lot of demand around content. That doesn't mean, though, that every niche and potential category of where content can be created is covered. Yes, there's going to be competition, but there's also going to be collaboration. And the truth is, most people watch much more than just one person, just like they'll watch more than one TV show, TV station, or even streaming platform. There's over 1 billion people who watch gaming content every month, and there is no way a single source of content could possibly satisfy them all. You may have to do some digging, some experimenting, some learning, but there's plenty of room for you still in this space. If you would have, looking back at this industry 3 years, even 5 years, even 10 years ago, you can't even imagine where it's going to be in the future. But keep finding your way of differentiating and the purpose of you creating. A powerful strategy at any stage of you being a creator is looking into other creators and learning from them. Let's do that and start there. Who are your top 3 favorite streamers? Maybe you're completely new to this space. You've only found 1 or 2 that you kind of even like, and you think you're way better than them already. That's fantastic, but there's still so much you can learn from those that are already there and how you can even improve off of that. Spend a bit of time to find the creators that you really enjoy, even if there's not too many of what you're really looking for. And that's the direction you're trying to take it. If you have a whole bunch of creators that you like, really narrow down your strongest ones in the direction you're trying to go. Having multiple can also just really help you branch out from getting stuck into one place. Write this down and write notes down alongside of those people. Just don't get too caught up watching content because you need to be the one creating, not consuming. So be efficient with this time. In the same vein here, look at your favorite entertainers. Are those actors, athletes, outrageous fighters? Do a little digging and research them. What is it that's compelling to you? The traits, the qualities, the categories that they're in. And with that, what is it that they are doing differently? What is it that's standing out about them that you appreciate, that you want to start to drive towards yourself, the habits you want to build to go in a similar direction. And how do you make it more of your own as you continue down that? Take some time. I know I've been asking you a ton of questions on this, and as you're listening to it, it's really easy to consume all of this information. But that's why we have the pages. We have the space for notes so you can go through this. If you haven't been pausing, spending some dedicated time to think about it, it's something you need to do. Maybe this isn't even really brand new information to you, but have you actually spent time on it? Challenge yourself as you're listening to this, as well as the future playbook modules and pillars. Why is it that you haven't taken action on what you know you need to do, and what else can you learn from this to actually make that happen? I want to help you achieve your goals and what you're going after, but goals are also a very difficult topic, so we want to continue on with that next. How do you set goals? Well, you want to be smart about it. An easy acronym you may have come across at some point, and if not, this will hopefully really help you actually make more tangible strides with what it is you're trying to do. SMART goals need to be smart. It should be clear what you're trying to do. Creating a boyfriend-girlfriend comedy skit once a week is very clear versus creating some funny content. Something measurable. If that means you're going to do 2 streams a week, you can tick those boxes as you go. You need to be able to measure it so you can track your progress and keep you motivated. On top of that, it needs to be something attainable. If you're setting something unreasonable of 50 hours every single week, and that's already over pushing your limit, you're really setting yourself up for disappointment if you can't get this unattainable goal. Your goals should also be relevant. They should align with that purpose, with what your mission is and what you're trying to do. So that way you can stay on track. Streaming in general can pull you in so many different directions, especially starting out even a year, 2, 3 years in. Many people are still doing it completely solo. You can be pulled in so many different directions. Even with teams and systems set up though, even for myself 10 years into this, I'm constantly pulled in directions and I need to make sure I'm going down the right path. And what I'm spending my time on is working towards my goals. And the last bit of this is keeping it time-oriented. Your goals need to have some type of time frame, otherwise it's so easy to procrastinate. Even if you have a really big goal, that's something that's going to be a 3-month timeline, setting up smaller sub-goals within that to make sure you're hitting the different points along that way to keep you on pace and keep you going towards what you want to do is so important, because leaving everything for the last minute and spending 3 months on something thinking about it before you actually do it often doesn't actually make it any better. A big part when it comes to goals, especially in streaming and content creation, can often be very numbers-based. And what we really want to focus on here is what you can control. One of those things is your reaction. How are you handling different situations? If a platform does something you don't agree with, maybe you could raise your voice about it, but also how are you going to adapt to that situation? Because it may not be something that's a quick fix or turnaround to what you were hoping for. Maybe it's something in a stream, in a video, with how a piece of content's going. The good news is you have that control of your reaction. It's not always easy, but it is something that you can work on. Likewise with content output, the amount of videos that you create, the amount of streams that you do, clips, tweets, photos, stories. There's often limitations like sleep and eating, other jobs, responsibilities, loved ones. That can affect your stream output, the number of hours, how consistent you can even be with that. That can also be areas, though, where you work on self-improvement, other forms of content, getting more resources for the content you're creating, researching, building. There's really an infinite amount that can be done. It can be overwhelming, but that's why you can set goals and start building off of it. That's what's really exciting about content, but it can also be really overwhelming. But that's why having goals and working towards them and building upon that is so useful. Often, streamers set goals around followers, concurrents. I did this myself starting out, and I still do it to a certain degree as I go. For me, just having 50 views on my content, I was blown away by, and I still am. That was more to me than had ever watched me in any of my class presentations or stuff that I was forced to do and didn't even want to do. Now I have the opportunity to create whatever I want to that I'm actually interested in. And you're telling me I got 50 people to watch it? And then even getting 50 people to like it? Man, I made it and still feel that way. And that's what's helped to keep me so motivated, because I'm so excited by being able to hit that. But it's still something I wasn't always hitting, and you still need to be cautious with this. It can be a huge demotivator by really just focusing on numbers, especially because you often don't have control of anybody ever clicking follow or coming back to something. The amount of people that are playing a game or interested in that topic. Numbers and analytics are incredibly valuable because that gives you insight into your audience, especially at mass scale when you can't talk to everybody. But if it's affecting you negatively, hurting you, holding you back on content, that's where the caution lies. But goals are incredible, and especially when you hit them, the satisfaction of your work paying off is incredible. When you are starting with them, set them on shorter time frames, 7 to 30 days. If you're working on something, it starts gaining traction, don't be afraid to shift those goals. Start to focus more in on it. If something isn't working, you still want to keep going for it, you can do that. Also, don't be afraid to change that direction if you're really not feeling it. As you work through these modules, we're going to help you understand how to optimize your time and accomplish your goals. Growing your viewership, your business is ultimately what we are here to help you with. This is a very powerful introduction to streaming, or a step back for those that have already been really going at this. How much time can you allocate to your stream work? Really anything involving content. There's a lot of hours in the day for you to get stuff done, even if it's not necessarily being live. This could be anything involving content, community, revenue, systems, growth. Now look at how much time are you spending on your stream work, and what percentage of that is it versus you being live? There's no perfect recipe for this, and there's so many variables to this that I can't give you a perfect solution right here. But the biggest concept to keep in mind is if you're 100% stream time, nothing off time, there's probably a lot of opportunity that you're missing out on. And on the other end of the scale, if you're spending all of your time researching, watching streams, well then how do you start making progress on the content you're creating? You gotta get after it and start getting live, start getting work done. Even if those are articles, memes, podcasts, tweets, there's so much you can start doing right now. A very powerful concept that can help you with this, whether you are just trying to find your purpose or your niche, which we'll get into, or you're really just trying to get more clarity on the direction you're trying to take, is the Japanese concept of ikigai. You're probably all familiar with the idea of Venn diagrams. Take a few circles with some main ideas and putting as much information into those as you can. Where they overlap with another idea, putting those similarities and the differences outside. In this, we have 4 circles. Comparing it is what that you love. What is it that you are good at? What can you be paid for? And what does the world need? The purpose of this chart is to help give you that clarity. And it's a widely used concept that for many is extremely powerful. What is it that you love merging with what is it that you're good at is that passion. What is it you're good at and you can be paid for? Your profession. What is it that the world really needs and you can be paid for is a vocation. And what you love and what the world needs is a mission. All of that coming together, ikigai. A fantastic place to find that purpose and what it is you're going after. Before we go live, you can see there's some due diligence that we really want to tackle. And by all means, get some experience, get streaming, figure out what it is that you are trying to do. But as you do, get clear on why you are doing this. If your intentions are to build an audience and to build a career, why not accept that and start to make the most of it? Start understanding the business of streaming and what it is that you are really trying to do behind it. Understanding as well how you're going to be making goals, making sure you keep yourself accountable on those goals, and keeping yourself motivated through this marathon that we are on here as you continue forward.